Welcome back to Beyond the Gates Secrets channel. Today's revelation will shake even the most loyal fans to the core. What if the perfect family you thought you knew was built entirely on lies? What if behind every smile at Fairmont Crest hides a betrayal so deep it could destroy everything? In tonight's shocking expose, we uncover the forbidden secret Ted fought for years to bury, a secret that could turn Chelsea's love into vengeance and tear the Dupree dynasty apart from within. Prepare yourself, because once the truth about Madison's bloodline is revealed, nothing, and no one, inside those gilded gates will ever be the same. From the moment Chelsea opened that drawer, everything inside her exploded. A faint hiss rose in her head, the thin paper trembled in her hand yet weighed on her chest like an anvil. The cold printed lines on the DNA report were indisputable. Madison, the woman she had once treated like a sister, the one who clung to her at family parties, who wept in her arms like a child desperate for shelter, was Ted's biological daughter. A simple truth, but a merciless one. Chelsea's entire life collapsed into a single point where every memory, every promise, every embrace, every tender look from Ted turned into knives. He hadn't only betrayed her with another woman, he had betrayed her with the most sacred thing, truth itself. And he had chosen to hide it, swaddling it in layers of lies, covering it with the facade of a model, reliable man, the most dangerous part being how he made her believe their love was real. The room was bathed in a pale gold glow that distorted Chelsea's face into long, warped streaks. The paper slipped to the floor, but her gaze stayed pinned to an invisible corner, as if trying to find a fragment of memory that could save her from the rising storm inside. She remembered nights by the fireplace when Ted spoke of youthful mistakes but always stopped short of naming any woman. She remembered how Madison grew shy when Ted brushed her hand at dinner, those glances that flashed and vanished as though they had never existed. All of it was now evidence, details she had overlooked, signs she had chalked up to life's random quirks, revealed as fissures in the perfect wall Ted had erected. A primal rage surged through Chelsea, a force no reason could contain. She didn't know whom she resented more, Ted for deceiving her, Madison for living in the lie, or herself for being blind. Everything seemed to blur. She no longer heard the clock, the wind, or footsteps in the hall, there was only the faint sound of her own heart pounding as if it would burst. This betrayal didn't just destroy love, it shattered her identity, the woman who believed she understood everything, who could manage life, whose composure was an advantage. Now she realized all of that had been an illusion built on sand. She walked to the mirror and looked at her face, the face Ted had praised as a symbol of strength, pride, and loyalty. But in those eyes now there was only emptiness. Part of her wanted to scream, to smash everything in the room, to drag Ted in and force him to look into her eyes while she read every line of that report aloud. Yet another part, so injured it was numb, stood motionless, watching her reflection as if it belonged to a stranger. Chelsea knew Ted would never confess. He was the kind of man who breathed control. He hid this secret not only to protect Madison, but to protect his own image, father, husband, man of power. But if he thought she would remain silent, he was wrong. Silence was precisely what had nourished this deceit for years. The silence of those who knew but never spoke, of those who suspected but turned away, of people like her who once believed some things were better left unknown. Odd details resurfaced. Madison had been sent to Europe for years, with Ted always giving the excuse of wanting the girl to have a better future. When Madison returned, Ted changed all at once, overly attentive, interfering in every decision, arguing with Chelsea whenever she complained of his favoritism. Back then, Chelsea thought he was trying to make up for a loveless childhood. Now truth came like a storm, and every justification collapsed. The charity galas, the fundraisers, the moments when Ted placed his hand on Madison's shoulder in public, Chelsea remembered the dim look he spared her while his eyes lingered a little too long on Madison. Perhaps others had noticed as well, they had simply refused to say it. Or perhaps they assumed she already knew. That thought humiliated Chelsea. She hadn't only been deceived, she had been pitted. As she stepped out of the room, Chelsea's mind held a single thought: Ted must pay. But how? By exposing him in public, or by tearing away the thing he loved most? She understood him too well. What he feared wasn't the loss of love but the loss of power. And his power was built on reputation, on the counterfeit perfection of a model family. If she destroyed that, he would crumble. But was she ready for the cost? Because once truth was loosed, not only Ted, but she, Madison, and the entire Dupree family would be wrecked. Chelsea saw what lay ahead, a covert war without mercy. Every step, every word, every glance could be a blade hidden up a sleeve. She began gathering proof, tracking down records, medical invoices, secret transfers from the family trust that Ted had always kept out of sight. She realized she was entering dangerous ground, not just of emotion, but of political and financial intrigue. What Ted concealed didn't stop at bloodlines, it wound through inheritance rights, contracts, investments under false names. The deeper she dug, the more lost Chelsea felt in a labyrinth of lies. Madison was not entirely innocent. The girl knew more than she had ever shown. She pleaded with her eyes for Chelsea's mercy whenever Ted erupted, dodged questions about her birth mother, and said there were things best buried in the past. Chelsea now understood Madison wasn't merely a victim, she was a silent accomplice. At night, as Chelsea stood on the balcony staring into the still garden, she asked herself, what made them believe she would never find out? Was it Ted's arrogance or Madison's confidence that Chelsea's blind love would keep her from the truth? They had forgotten the one thing more powerful than anything else, a betrayed woman with nothing left to lose. She began to change. Her anger was no longer a wild blaze, it became a weapon. She learned to keep quiet, to watch, to gather, to feign ignorance. Each day she played the shattered wife and grieving sister while, inside, she spun her own design. She knew that to bring Ted down she had to strike at his weakest point, trust. And no one knew better than she did how Ted trusted in his own power, his certainty that no one could hurt him. Chelsea sought out people who had worked with Ted, those he had pushed out, those who carried old grudges but never had the chance to strike back. She revived old promises, stirred buried memories. Slowly a network took shape, those Ted had betrayed, people willing to help her just to see him fall. Yet the deeper she went, the less she recognized herself. She was morphing into someone else, cold, calculating, ready to sacrifice anything to reach her goal. Was she seeking justice or only the intoxicating taste of power Ted once wielded? Every night she dreamed of that paper, dreamed of Madison standing beside Ted, laughing while she screamed. She woke each time unable to breathe. She realized that knowing the truth isn't always deliverance, sometimes it is a weight that withers a person. But it was too late to turn back. She had stepped into the game, and the only loser would be the one who hesitated. Somewhere in her mind one question still had no answer: who first decided to bury this truth, Ted or Madison? And more importantly, what other secret waited to be uncovered, a secret beyond even her imagination? In this world where every smile can hide a dagger, Chelsea understood that no one is entirely innocent. No love is pure. No family is uncracked. With dawn breaking, she knew she would never again be who she once was. That DNA report was only the spark of a chain reaction. Once the secret surfaced, blood would be spilled, honor would be lost, and truth, the thing Chelsea thought would free her, might be the very fire that burned everything down. Yet deep within, she still believed she was doing what was right. If she didn't expose them, who would? And if justice could not be found inside the walls of Fairmont Crest, perhaps she would have to forge it with her own hands, even if the price was her own soul. As the lights dim over Fairmont Crest, the air seems to thicken with the weight of unspoken truths. Chelsea stands alone, staring at the mansion that once symbolized love, safety, and belonging. Now it feels like a mausoleum of broken promises. The truth has been unearthed, but it hasn't brought peace, only chaos, suspicion, and the bitter taste of justice poisoned by revenge. Ted's empire begins to crumble under the force of rumors, and Madison's once innocent image fractures as whispers ripple through the halls about the child who should never have existed. Yet beneath the collapse, there's still something hauntingly incomplete. Chelsea knows she has won a battle, but not the war. For every lie she exposes, another shadow rises to take its place. The Dupree family name, once spoken with reverence, now trembles on the edge of ruin, and Chelsea is both its executioner and its last guardian. Late at night, as she burns the final copy of the DNA report, she wonders whether she has truly destroyed Ted or simply unleashed a new version of him. One even more dangerous, stripped of illusion and morality. The fire crackles, swallowing the evidence, but its reflection dances in her eyes like a warning. Some secrets are never buried, they only change hands. Madison's silence remains a riddle, her tears impossible to read. Was she a victim, or was she protecting the man who made her? And if so, what other truths lie buried beneath the marble floors of Fairmont Crest? Chelsea feels the paradox of victory. She has regained control, but lost her sense of self. The woman she used to be died the moment she opened that drawer, and what stands now is someone forged from fury and loss, someone capable of fighting the very darkness that once consumed her. The gates of Fairmont may still stand tall, but they no longer guard a family, they guard ghosts, regrets, and the echo of a truth that can never be undone. Somewhere in the distance, a storm brews again, and Chelsea knows this is not the end. It's merely the beginning of a war between blood, lies, and the relentless hunger for redemption.